Every day, people get into their cars and onto crowded trains, all to sit at a desk and send emails to the person at the desk next door. It kind of doesn't make sense anymore. Why do we do it? Why can't we work at times that suit us? Why do we have thousands of emails? Why don't we use social media apps to communicate with each other? In Japan, they have real traffic problems and the government has set targets for people to work from home. Have we done that? No. I can't imagine that happening here. We've just got inertia. The world has changed and organisations are having trouble keeping up. In the Industrial Revolution, it took 100 years to move people from the fields to the factories. In just 10 years, we moved from the industrial age into the information age, and now we've got people who grew up before the internet, people who have learned about it, and younger people who know nothing else, all working together. It's not just technology that's changed. Society has changed too. Look at changing attitudes to the role of work in people's lives. Look at changing gender roles. Look at demographics. People are living longer. It's a real challenge for organisations. How are management and leadership changing? Where are organisations going? Let's consider why organisations exist in the first place. In the 1930s, we had the transaction cost theory of the firm. Organisations exist to avoid the costs of getting people together to work. Every time you get people together to do some work, it costs time and money to find them, to negotiate how you're going to pay them. The idea was that employing people was cheaper. In the 1980s, we had the resource-based view of the firm. The reason organisations exist is to bring together a bundle of resources, people, money, equipment, anything, a more efficient way of working. In the 1990s, the resource-based view developed into the knowledge-based view of the firm. The reason organisations exist is to integrate the knowledge of all their members. What about the purpose of employment? I don't really believe people go to work just to get paid and have holidays. Yes, what today's graduates want is for work to be part of their lives. They want to be fairly paid, relative to other people, but they want to do work with some meaning. They want to work for organisations with ethical policies, a social conscience, organisations that know what they stand for. Why would anyone want to work in the first place? We've got that work ethic. It's a good thing to be busy. People say to me, "How are you? Are you busy?" I say, thankfully, no. I say I'm really busy because I've just taken up drawing and joined a Zumba class and I go cycling twice a week. People like to be busy on things they enjoy doing. And if someone pays you for it, that's the ideal job. You could say that's a naive view of life that young people have always had, but now it's much more feasible, partly with technology, partly as there are so many more role models, people who've done things differently. Bill Gates, social media barons. They're the heroes, not the standard grey-suited, boring corporate executive. In the UK, large, traditional, hierarchical organisations are outsourcing what they do to become more flexible and provide a better service, and to avoid the costs of employment and bureaucracy. Is this the future of organisations? We've got consultants in at the moment. You do start to wonder, as an organisation, is this how we're going to be structured? A few core people who do some kind of strategy stuff, and consultants with a load of energy but without the organisational baggage? Consultants come in with energy and ask, why is that a problem? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Hierarchical organisations are bound to create inertia. To break the culture, you need a very brave person from inside or someone from outside who says, look, you lot, the world's going this way and you're just sitting there. Yes, think about pharmaceutical companies. They have their enormous R&D department, but a lot of the time they buy small startups to get ideas from outside. Or they'll crowdsource using the internet, find some professor in a university in India and get that person to work on what the company used to do in its own secret laboratory. Organisations that don't change are finding they can't attract the right people. They're losing a lot of talent and their people are not as productive as they could be. There's evidence that people who have control over when, where and how they get their jobs done are more productive. In Holland, care services for people at home used to be like it is here, 15-minute visits, no time for a conversation. So a guy set up his own care services organisation. No time limits, nothing. Now they employ 9,000 nurses and the teams manage themselves, so low management costs. They care for the people, spend longer with them, and the people get better more quickly. The nurses are more motivated. A success story. But it took someone to do things differently. Aren't some kinds of work too complex for self-managed teams? Or does giving people a job to do usually work better than control and targets? But isn't that only applicable to a certain type of industry? You can't make a car with people living in different parts of the world. You need to be there, doing it. Yes. How will things get made? By robots. It's not just making things. If it's a routine job, we can give it to a robot or a computer. Intelligent agents can replace people in call centres. Calls only go to a human if it's difficult. One of the growing industries is caring for people. Robots can't do that. The more forward-looking organisations are measuring people on results. Work is something to produce an output or an outcome. But most of our measurement systems are to do with inputs. You earn your salary by turning up and putting in the hours. So we have a long hours culture and low productivity. If you haven't got a traditional employment relationship, how do you get people to feel they have a stake in the results or in the organisation? And what about people who don't want to be empowered and trusted and given freedom? Some people just can't work that way. What do we do with these people? We can't just cut them out of our world. Does bringing consultants in mean we're not trusted to do our jobs? Trust is really important. If you're told what to do, then you wonder what value you're adding. People are already supplying their time from different places. You don't need to employ people in permanent jobs to get work done. You can go to the work market, not the job market. It's called the gig economy. You define the output and negotiate a price. It might be with an individual, it might be with a small business. Technology means the transaction costs are low, a kind of eBay for work. The ability to coordinate the people doing this work is a massive project management job, not a traditional people management job. But we still have to manage the people in the project team. Yes, that's one of the big challenges. All these freelance people, where's their belonging place? Who's looking after overall skills development? Who is anyway? The gig economy means constant competing against everyone else. If everyone is independent and competing all the time, that's going to be exhausting. And it's a whole new skill set. What about project management? Is project management an unnecessary overhead? The film industry has worked this way for years, pulling in people with the necessary skills to make each movie. But a study found that films aren't made by a series of temporary teams. The same core group of people works on lots of films. That's great if you're in the core group, but if you're new or on the fringes, where does that leave you? Is it fair? The gig economy might save on those transaction costs, but will we have to create a huge bureaucracy to make sure selection processes are fair and transparent, so we're not exploiting people or leaving people out? So what does the future of work look like? Is work going to become more of a commodity? Will we still have jobs? Or will we all work on projects? What'll happen to employment? What'll happen to organisations? And are we talking about the future of work, or has it arrived already? What do you think?